Transitional Housing of Steele County helps individuals and families to transition out of homelessness and into independent living. It provides stable housing through rental subsidies and case management for homeless people for up to 2 years.
My name is Heather Turek, and I am 45 years old, and I have a 9-year-old son, Talon. I'm a single mom, and I've lived in Otana a good portion of my life. I had a really hard upbringing. My mom was married 4 different times. There were a lot of struggles with different kind of abuse, substances. I grew up seeing things that kids probably shouldn't see. After my mom and stepdad got divorced when I was 15, we had to leave our home in New Richland. That's what moved me to Otana when I was 15 years old. Chances of eviction was like a monthly thing. Whether it was eviction or keeping your lights on or keeping food on the table, it was just really a struggle. For probably the last 6 years, I had suffered with some stomach issues. And so a few years back, I was told that I was going to have yet another surgery. I was having probably a surgery every year, maybe 2. I was also told that this surgery could keep me out of work for up to 3 months. I had worked so hard to get a solid ground under me, I felt was going to slip away because of something that was totally out of my control. I didn't have anything in savings. I had no clue what I was going to do to pay for rent and utilities and food and everything else. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I was taken in by ambulance with an obstruction that almost burst. Basically, an obstruction is where food gets lodged and it can't go either way. And that happened repeatedly, where I would go into the ER and they'd be, oh, you got an obstruction, you're gonna get put into the hospital again. And I did that for 4 years. It was horrible.
Homelessness can affect anyone: the young, the elderly, the disabled, the healthy, the sick, and those fleeing domestic violence. Transitional Housing Board member Mark Pearson understands the need to break the cycle of poverty and homelessness.
If you think about the different things that come up in our lives that are surprise financial obligations, your car breaks down, you have an illness, we've all been there. Those things can put you down a path where a single car repair may lead you to not paying your rent that month, and that leads you to being evicted. And that causes you to not be able to rent in the future because you have this eviction on your record. The way that Transitional Housing of Steele County works is we help people who are struggling to pay their rent enter a program for up to 2 years, and we help them in a variety of ways. So we give money based on their need, but we also give them assistance around helping them go to school, helping them maintain or apply for new jobs, helping them with other social services. So to really put them in a position with a goal of, at the exit of the program, where they're self-sufficient, able to pay rent and their other bills on their own.
Transitional Housing provides homeless families and individuals with a caring and supportive environment. Transitional housing programs are designed to move clients from homelessness to self-sufficiency within 2 years. This program helps parents like Heather get back on their feet. It can be challenging to focus on self-sufficiency when your basic needs are not being met, something Transitional Housing Board member Dr. Brian Bunkers knows all too well.
So there's an old saying that says you can give someone a fish and they'll have a meal for that day, or you can teach them to fish and they'll have a meal for a lifetime. That's the approach that we take in transitional housing. We teach them how to be self-sufficient through case management, but we give them the tools that they need to do that. And most oftentimes, it's that initial financial help. It's that getting into a house, a housing situation, paying that rent, helping them to understand how they can do it themselves, helping them with budgeting, give them case management, and then they're off on their own.
Parents like Heather find the home structure and support they never had through the program. Resources and education that provide a life of self-sufficiency.
I used to work for WePals, And I remembered that transitional housing was located in the same building as we pass. And so I'm like, I'm gonna see what they can do. And immediately, I got a response immediately. I started getting just a guiding hand. Even before I got assistance, I got a guiding hand to help me from day one, which was absolutely amazing. I don't remember exactly how many months it was where I didn't have to pay anything. I think it was like the first quarter. My rent was 100% covered, which was what I needed because that's when I had my surgery. And then every quarter after that, I ended up having to pay maybe an extra $100 for the next 3 months. And then after that, it would go up again for the next 3 months. So by the time I was exiting the program, they were only covering like 10% of my rent. So it was gradually increasing me back into paying full rent.
Transitional housing helps promote accountability with our clients because they, rather than paying their entire rent and guaranteeing that this is a program that lasts a certain length, we base our assistance on how much they need to start. So it differs by family, depending on their financial need. But it's more than just the financial assistance. It's they're in a real lease. They're with a real landlord.
I have heard so many stories in my role as a board member when folks who have graduated from our program come back and they've went on to achieve just a very, I'll call it a normal life. And to them, before they entered our program, they didn't feel a normal life was possible for them. So we really are giving folks, I call it, we're giving them a hand up, not a handout. And the folks that are in our program have the same pride that you and I do. They don't want to be a charity case, if you will, or someone who can't do it on their own. But what they lack is that opportunity. And that's what transitional housing does, is gives them that opportunity to be successful on their own.
Last year, 194 people were housed by transitional housing. 93 were adults. 101 were children. Half were fleeing abusive homes. Many were disabled. Many were single parents. All were living in poverty. Transitional Housing of Steele County helped 25 families to remain in housing by preventing their evictions.
I never have to worry about getting evicted. To know that I can put a roof over my son's head and to not have him have the fears that I did growing up, I never want my child to feel that way. I never want my child to feel like he doesn't have a home. And so the biggest gratification is the fact that as a mom, as a single mom, I'm able to provide that for my son. I could not have done this alone. I needed the guidance. I needed the financial help, but I needed the guidance. And the thing with transitional housing is it truly is not just about the money. And you are held accountable for what you're doing with your money. And so it's the tools that they give you that I think really got me through to the next step.
In 2020, Transitional Housing provided emergency motel vouchers for 5-night stays for 22 families homeless due to COVID-19, and provided one-time rental and deposit assistance for 58 families at risk of homelessness due to COVID-19. Every month, an average of 30 families are turned away due to a lack of funding. Your support means we never have to say no to an eligible family again. Thank you for your ongoing support and for helping us to end the cycle of poverty in Steele County.
For the donors, I want them to know that their donations truly are impacting lives. You're not just paying somebody's rent, but you're giving them a life. So truly, it's life-changing.
We have a variety of awesome organizations that you can give to in town. We very much appreciate and we work to spend that money really wisely and really try to help as many families as we can.
This program has a history as a United Way agency as having probably the most, if not the most, impact per dollar spent. So know that if you are choosing to donate, that money will be spent on programming and not on administrative costs. If you look at the fundamental basics that a person needs in their life, housing, shelter, food, you can help contribute to that with your contribution to Steele County Transitional Housing.